Most people know the Thunderbird, but here's what most people don't know. Within the T-Bird's long history, there are versions so rare, so unusual, so completely unlike anything Ford officially advertised that finding one today is the automotive equivalent of finding buried treasure. Some were built for celebrities, some were commissioned by luxury retailers, and at least one of them, the car at number 1, is so mysterious that even dedicated Thunderbird historians still argue about the detail. 10 Thunderbirds, 10 stories. Let's get into it. Number 10, 2005 Ford Thunderbird 50th Anniversary Cashmere Edition. By 2005, Ford was in an interesting position with the Thunderbird. The retro-styled 11th generation had been a sensation when it arrived in 2002. The return of an American icon, updated for the 21st century, while staying faithful to the spirit of the original. But sales had softened, and Ford knew the end was coming. So, for the Thunderbird's 50th anniversary, they decided to send it off in style. The Cashmere Edition was Ford's farewell gift, a special appearance package finished in a warm, creamy cashmere exterior color with a matching convertible top and a specifically coordinated interior that felt deliberately luxurious. This wasn't a performance package, it was an occasion package, a way of marking 50 years of the Thunderbird name with something that felt worthy of the anniversary. The 3.9-liter V8 made 280 horsepower, enough to make the Cashmere Edition genuinely quick at 6.5 seconds to 60. And the interior was a beautifully executed space with premium leather seating, chrome accents on every surface, and a level of finish that the standard 11th generation T-Bird occasionally struggled to match. Only 1,500 were produced. Ford discontinued the Thunderbird entirely after 2005, making every Cashmere Edition a farewell to 50 years of American personal luxury. Number 9, 1962 Ford Thunderbird Sports Roadster. In 1962, some Thunderbird customers were unhappy. The 4-seat square bird that had replaced the original 2-seater was selling well, almost 80,000 in 1962 alone, but a certain group of buyers felt the T-Bird had grown soft, too comfortable, too much of a family car, and not enough of a personal statement. Ford's answer was the Sports Roadster, a fiberglass tonneau cover and designed by Bud Kaufman that sat over the rear seat and transformed the 4-passenger Thunderbird into something that looked, from behind, like a 2-seat roadster. Add the Kelsey Hayes chrome wire wheels with their distinctive knockoff center caps, delete the rear fender skirt, fit a passenger side grab bar, and you had something entirely new in the T-Bird lineup. The 390 cubic inch V8 made 300 horsepower and moved the Sports Roadster with the smooth authority that Thunderbird buyers expected. But the look, that long, uninterrupted silhouette from the front of the hood all the way to the tonneau, was something genuinely special. Elvis Presley bought one of the first. The car appeared on the Twilight Zone in February 1962. It was a cultural moment in automotive form. Only 1,427 were produced, and the story doesn't end there, because the 1963 version got even rarer. Number 8, 2003 Ford Thunderbird James Bond 007 Edition. In 2002, Ford signed a deal that most car companies only dream about. The Thunderbird was going to appear in Die Another Day, the 20th James Bond film starring Pierce Brosnan and Halle Berry. And when a car appears alongside James Bond, Ford understood they had exactly one opportunity to capitalize on it properly. The result was the 007 Edition, a specially trimmed Thunderbird finished in Thunderbird Blue, a color specifically chosen to evoke the classic T-Bird heritage, with unique 007 badging, a custom interior, and a companion Goldfinger DVD included with purchase. Berry drove a coral-colored T-Bird in the film. Ford offered the 007 edition in Thunderbird Blue as the collector's version. The 3.9-liter V8 made 280 horsepower, and the interior featured specific Bond-themed elements alongside the premium leather and chrome that defined the 11th generation Thunderbird's cabin. It was luxury with a license, appropriately. Licensed to thrill, only 700 were built for Bond collectors and T-Bird enthusiasts alike. The 007 edition sits at the intersection of two separate cultural obsessions. Finding a well-documented example today takes patience, money, and a little luck. Number 7. 1963 Ford Thunderbird Sports Roadster. If you thought 1,427 Sports Roadsters was a small number, 1963 is going to put that in perspective. Ford offered the Sports Roadster package again for 1963. The same tonneau cover concept, the same wire wheels, the same transformation from 4-seat luxury car to 2-seat personal statement. But buyers had moved on. The novelty had faded, and Ford's production numbers reflected the shift in interest with brutal clarity. 455. That's how many 1963 Sports Roadsters found buyers, just 32% of the 1962 total, which means a 1963 Sports Roadster is significantly rarer than its predecessor. Yet almost nobody makes that distinction when they're discussing Thunderbird history. The 390 V8 was the same unit as 1962, 300 horsepower, smooth and unhurried in character, moving this beautiful car with the effortless quality that defined the third-generation T-Bird. The interior was updated with minor refinements over 1962, and the exterior received the modest styling changes Ford made across the entire 1963 lineup. But here's what makes the 1963 Sports Roadster particularly interesting. Within that 455-unit production run, there was a version so rare that it deserves its own entry on this list. Number 6. 1960 Ford Thunderbird J-Code 430. Here's a Thunderbird that most T-Bird enthusiasts have heard of, but far fewer have actually seen in person. By 1960, the Squarebird was at the peak of its commercial success. Over 92,000 were sold that year, an extraordinary number for what was essentially a personal luxury car. The standard 352 cubic inch V8 made 300 horsepower and was more than adequate for most buyers. But a small group of customers wanted more. More displacement, more torque, more of everything. Ford offered the J-Code 430 cubic inch MELV8 as an option. This engine, borrowed from Lincoln and redesigned for Thunderbird use, made 350 horsepower and an extraordinary 490 pound-feet of torque. That torque figure is what made the J-Code special. This wasn't an engine that revved to glory. It was an engine that moved mountains quietly and with complete authority from virtually any RPM. Only 377 convertibles received the J-Code in 1960, representing the rarest combination of body style and engine option in the Squarebird era. The interior of the 1960 convertible was already exceptional. Deeply padded seating, a clean instrument panel, and the feeling of being surrounded by quality rather than just transported by it. Finding a documented, numbers-matching J-Code convertible today is a serious undertaking. The people who have them know exactly what they have. Number 5. 1957 Ford Thunderbird F-Code Supercharged. The 1957 Thunderbird was already the most refined version of the original 2-seat T-Bird. Longer fins, a cleaner roofline, a spare tire moved back inside the trunk where it belonged. It was, by almost universal agreement, the most beautiful Thunderbird Ford had built to that point. And then somebody decided to bolt a supercharger to it. The F-Code option was Ford's response to the horsepower wars that were already heating up in 1957. A Paxton McCulloch centrifugal supercharger was fitted to the 312 cubic inch V8, producing 300 horsepower, a number that sounds modest today but was genuinely serious in 1957. The supercharger gave the engine a character that the naturally aspirated version couldn't replicate, a building surge of power that arrived smoothly and kept building. 0 to 60 in approximately 7.5 seconds in a car that weighed barely 3,000 pounds. In 1957, that was quick. The exhaust note, slightly different from a standard 312 because of the forced induction, had a quality that people who heard it for the first time tended to remember Only around 212 road-going F-code Thunderbirds were built. The two-seat T-Bird ended after 1957. In supercharged form, it went out at its absolute best. Number 4. 2002 Ford Thunderbird Neiman Marcus Edition. 200 cars, 2 hours, and a phone that rang itself into automotive legend. In 2001, when Ford was preparing to relaunch the Thunderbird for the first time since 1997, they made a decision that seemed either brilliant or reckless, depending on where you were standing. They partnered with Neiman Marcus to offer the new T-Bird as a Christmas gift option. 200 special edition cars, finished in inspiration yellow with a white interior and specific Neiman Marcus badging, would be available exclusively through the retailer's famous Christmas catalog. The 2002 Neiman Marcus edition came with the 3.9-liter V8, making 252 horsepower, the first-year rating before Ford revised the engine output, along with a specific porthole hardtop in body color, matched luggage designed to fit the T-Bird's trunk, and documentation confirming the car's special status. The interior was cream leather with chrome accents that caught the light like jewelry. The phone started ringing when the catalog arrived. By the time the second hour had passed, all 200 were spoken for. People who called on hour 3 were simply too late. When something sells out in 2 hours, you know you're dealing with something special. The Neiman Marcus edition opened the door for everything that followed the Thunderbird's return and remains the most sought-after of all the 11th generation variants. Number 3. 1963 Thunderbird Sports Roadster M-Code. Remember when I told you that the 1963 Sports Roadster had 455 examples? Now I'm going to tell you that within those 455, 37 of them were something completely different. The M-Code option added a tri-power induction system to the 390 V8, 3 two-barrel Holley carburetors, an upgraded camshaft, and specific cylinder heads that together produced 340 horsepower. This was the high-performance engine from the Ford Galaxy, transplanted into the most stylish two-seat appearing car Ford made. It was, by any reasonable measure, a factory hot rod wearing a tuxedo. The M-Code Sports Roadster didn't announce itself. From the outside, it looked identical to any other 1963 Sports Roadster. Wire wheels, tonneau cover, the same beautiful lines. The difference was under the hood and in the way the car moved. The tri-power setup gave the 390 a more immediate, more aggressive character than the single 4-barrel version. It responded to throttle inputs with a crispness that the standard engine couldn't quite match. Only 37 M-Code Sports Roadsters were built in 1963. Of those, an estimated 25 are believed to still exist. Each one is documented by the Sports Roadster Society and the Thunderbird Club International. When one surfaces, the T-Bird community takes notice immediately. Number 2. 1967 Thunderbird Apollo by Abercrombie and Fitch. Before Abercrombie and Fitch became a clothing brand aimed at teenagers, it was something else entirely. One of America's most exclusive outfitters for wealthy adventurers and sportsmen. Custom firearms, African safari equipment, handmade fishing rods for people who didn't ask about price. And in 1967, they commissioned Ford to build them 5 special Thunderbirds. The Apollo package transformed the standard 1967 T-Bird into a rolling communications center, a two-way radio behind the front seat, a telephone handset with external antenna, a custom interior with A&F branded elements that no standard buyer could order. The 390 V8 made 315 horsepower and moved this already luxurious car with complete authority. 5 were built, 3 survived. When one surfaces at auction, serious collectors go very quiet and very focused. This is a Thunderbird that exists at the intersection of mid-century American luxury, adventure culture, and automotive history. 3 in the entire world. Number 1, 1962. Thunderbird Italian Custom. There is one of these, 1. The 1962 Thunderbird Italien is a coach-built custom, not a Ford factory product, but a bespoke creation built for a single client by craftsmen who took the third-generation T-Bird platform and turned it into something completely singular. Custom bodywork that blends European design sensibility with the Thunderbird's fundamental proportions. A hand-fitted interior where every surface communicates the fact that this was made for one person with no compromises permitted. Engine specifications, build history, original client. The details remain as individual and private as the car itself. Somewhere in the world right now, one person is the custodian of this automobile, and that single fact makes it the most extraordinary Thunderbird ever to have existed. Which car from this list would you choose? Let's talk in the comments.